Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the latest economic updates. This is at Market Watchtower News. In today's episode, we have some intriguing stories to share. Let's jump right in. Macron wants to attend the BRICS summit. Emmanuel Macron intends to participate in the next BRICS summit, which will be held in South Africa in August. His request was a somewhat unexpected South African colleague. He could not immediately answer and took time to think with our partners on BRICS. Russia is also at a loss. We don't know who needs it and why. We don't have information about it, said the press secretary of the President of the Russian Federation, Dmitry Peskov, at a briefing. The President of South Africa will come to Paris to participate in the summit on developing a new global financial pact which will be held soon on June 22 and 23. At the event, France will again ask if there is an extra ticket. It is worth noting that the South African leader now has problems, and more seriously, South Africa needs more time to get out of the Roman status Musa, and that means formally recognizing jurisdiction. Over last week, The Guardian newspaper wrote that South Africa might even abandon hosting the BRICS Summit edition. Explains this as a desire to avoid severe geopolitical problems due to warrants for the arrest of the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, issued to the International Criminal Court as a side of the Roman status of the Muses should execute the court's decision in The Hague. However, no one needs consequences of this magnitude. Cyril's office Ramaphosa is considering introducing special law granting immunity to heads of state visiting the country. By the way, South Africa faced challenges with the agreement in the past. Macron's eagerness to attend the BRICS summit may stem from his desire to engage with Russia's president. France aims to maintain alliances with China, India, and Brazil, recognizing the growing significance of BRICS. U.S. sanctions and dollar dominance create geopolitical problems, affecting financing in Africa, Latin America, and Asia and causing tensions for European countries. BRICS is gaining strength, reshaping global trade routes amid the confrontation between the West, Russia, and China. Several countries, including Indonesia, Algeria, Kazakhstan, Nigeria, and Saudi Arabia, are on the brink of joining BRICS, urging France to initiate dialogue. The Élysée Palace acknowledges the potential impact of Macron's participation in the summit, while Putin's attendance could raise further questions. Let's see the outrage in Washington. Will Macron pass the African face control and peek into the BRIC club? However, everyone understands that the French leader wants to sit on everyone's chairs. The main thing is that they did not accidentally part, given that the interests of the G7 countries and the BRICS lie in different planes. Yes, and to the level of the known Free France fighter Charles de Gaulle, Macron still needs to be put up to par. The U.S. Treasury admitted that the sanctions force us to seek an alternative to the dollar. U.S. sanctions force other countries to look for alternatives to the dollar. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen stated this during her speech in the Committee on Financial Services of the House of Representatives of Congress. Congressman Vicente Gonzalez asked whether the U.S. should be more careful in imposing sanctions. Not to create panic and make others abandon the dollar. It is true that when we impose sanctions, countries are forced to look for a replacement in order not to fall under restrictions. She stated that despite the U.S. having to accept the dollar for transactions, many countries lack alternatives due to its status as the reserve currency. Although other reserve assets are growing, the head of the U.S. Treasury believes the dollar will remain dominant but warns of a potential decline. This conflicts with international de-dollarization efforts, particularly within the BRICS economic bloc. The number of countries wishing to join the BRICS continues to snowball and has already reached almost 20. Egypt applied for entry into the BRICS this week. By the way, China continues the policy of reducing stocks of U.S. dollars. In May, the Central Bank of China increased its gold reserves and bought another 16 tons of reserve raw materials. Over the past 6 months, China has acquired 144 tons of gold. And now it has accumulated 2,092 tons. Recall that according to the surveys of the World Gold Council, half of the central banks expect that the share of the US dollar in reserves will continue to decline and amount to 40 to 50% in the next 5 years. Dollar end or no? What do you think? Turkey has started raising the rate again. The Turkish lira continues to free fall after last month's elections in the country. Such a substantial drawdown of the lira was caused by the refusal of banks to sell foreign exchange reserves, of which, in reality, there are not so many left. Expenses for eliminating the consequences of earthquakes and Erdogan's election campaign have done its job. The economic policy of the Turkish president is also well known to everyone to keep the rate low despite the country's rapid inflation growth. In his opinion, high interest rates cause inflation, while low ones should stimulate growth through imports. However, as we can see, this strategy does not help much. The lira continues to fall against foreign currencies, and the central bank's foreign exchange reserves have reached an all-time low. Who is guilty? Well, of course, the head of the central bank. Everyone is already used to Recep Erdogan changing the leaders of the central bank like gloves. Recall that the president changed them 5 times in 4 years. This time is no exception. After his victory, he again appointed a new head of the central bank. They became the 44-year-old owner, Hafize Gaye Erkan, the first woman in this post. At Erkan, quite a long track record. Previously, she worked in senior positions at Goldman Sachs, the Tiffany & Company Jewelry Company, and the First Republic Bank, which went bankrupt a year after she left. Let's see how the appointment of a new head of the central bank this time will affect the country's economy. Erkan is on the U.S. Council on Foreign Relations list, considered Washington's shadow foreign policy agency. American colleagues call her the Great Turkish Woman, and experts believe that the appointment of Gaye Erkan to the head post is a sign of Erdogan's readiness to abandon the previous course of monetary policy. That's all for today's episode. Remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we release new videos. Stay informed, stay ahead. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.